You're listening to Graphic Novel Explorers Club podcast, an audio book club.
Thank you for checking out this bonus episode of Graphic Novel Explorers Club, where we discuss Flashpoint, written by who, Johnny?
Geoff John.
And that is my co-host, Johnny. Also joined with us is...
Dennis.
And I'm your host, Frances. Flashpoint is an episode we did that had some technical difficulties.
No, it wasn't technical difficulties. There was a phone call difficulty.
Oh, well, it's a tech.
There was an interruption.
There was a time distortion problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we lost track of what we were discussing towards the middle of the episode. So if there's a little skip.
Well, they can find us on Stitcher and iTunes, wherever podcasts are available. And we will be back in June with the bonus season. We're going to cover the 3 volumes of Preacher, so we hope you join us for that.
The first 3 volumes.
The first 3 volumes. Oh, we're doing a lot of reading.
Of Preacher by Garth Ennis.
And you can find us on Twitter at GN Explorers Club or our email, gnexplorersclub@gmail.com, and also Facebook. If you have any ideas for next season, please feel free to contact us.
We hope you enjoy this bonus episode.
Of Flashpoint.
Welcome to the Graphic Novels... I was going to say Players Club. Playa, Ice Cube.
Welcome to the Graphic Novel Players Club.
On stage, please welcome Frances.
I'm your host, Silky Pillows.
Silky pillows.
Okay. Welcome to the Graphic Novels...
We are so hungover.
Welcome to the Graphic Novel Explorers Club, an audio podcast book club where we look at a particular graphic novel or comic book arc. Today, as usual, I'm joined by...
The lovely and talented Frances Preziosi.
You can't say that about yourself.
Yes, I can.
Someone else would have to say that.
I'm not saying that about me. The mirror said it to me.
Okay.
Oh, right.
You're adoring public.
Yes.
Adoring...
My cats admire me from afar.
And
the little brown bastard, Johnny Flores.
You can say that about
Yeah, I know.
yourself.
Well, you're gonna say that.
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, I don't have a moniker. But today we're going to look at Flashpoint.
You didn't even say your name, man.
Oh, Dennis.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess just Dennis. And today we're going
like Cher or,
Yeah, exactly.
or Bono.
just D.
D.
He needs no introduction.
Super D. Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Oh.
And then, thank you. Today we're going to look at DC Comics' Flashpoint, a mini-series that was released a few years ago. It actually, the main series is about, 5 issues long, and then it had a bunch of spin-off series as well to complement it. And then it also kicked off the rebirth and reboot of the DC Universe, where they rebooted themselves into the New 52. And
That's what kicked it off?
Yep, this was the start of it, yeah.
Oh.
And so basically, synopsis of the story, Barry is sad.
Barry Allen,
the Flash.
Who's probably the most tragic of all the Flashes.
Right. And,
Wait, I have a question, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So is this the first intro the public has to the Flash?
No.
No.
Okay.
Definitely
The
not.
Flash is from the Golden era. He got started...
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Let's
40s
finish
or
this up.
50s,
Synopsis,
right?
yeah.
So basically, Barry is sad panda about his mom having been dead. And then she had died originally under mysterious circumstances. And then later he finds out that Reverse Flash had, in fact, killed her. Then he tries to change time. As we know, Murphy's Law, butterfly effect, it has ramifications throughout the DC universe. And he ends up in a world where his mom is alive, but other things are very different and not good. And so that's basically a synopsis of it.
That was a really good synopsis.
Yeah. We'll let's get into the actual story arc here. So, Flash, this comic book starts off him waking up and not knowing. He's immediately confused because they're talking about Captain Cold, who's one of the Flash's arch nemesis, but in this one he's kind of a good guy, I guess, or he's not.
Well, okay, so it's very interesting. So in what we see of this particular comic, he is a good guy, although there's some kind of undertones that maybe he's kind of a weird good guy.
Yeah.
And then there's actually a whole spin-off comic of Captain Cold where you find out, in fact, he was a criminal and had done a lot of nefarious things, but he managed to spin his image into being a good guy.
Oh, okay. Well, in this one, Cyborg, who is part man, part like supercomputer machine thing. Like he's is trying to recruit. The Flash wakes up. He's woken up at work, and he's not. He hears about something going on, so he goes running and falls down the stairs because he has no Flash power.
Right.
I would assume he could just walk down the stairs like a normal human beings can walk and run downstairs.
Well, yeah, I guess the thing is that he wanted to change into his Flash costume. So he was going to do his whole super run and then change in, and then, hey, I don't have super speed, and he starts stumbling.
Yeah. See, so I know nothing about the Flash. This is my first intro to him. Mm-hmm. So when I read this, I was like, oh, he's really tired. That's honestly, because he just like woke up from like this.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll preface this by saying that I was really into this storyline when it came out. I'm a big like alternative universe fan, and being a Capes and Tights fan, I'm pretty well adept to who the players were in this, so I can understand how, as a new person, maybe only with a peripheral knowledge, that this comic's extremely confusing. And then for Johnny, I know you follow the TV series, which is soon to adapt this.
Yeah, that's this season.
Right, and then they also made this into a cartoon, I think, and into a movie. And then, but I know for Johnny, he's a little more adept at it, but still, it could be.
I'm still a rookie, though.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Flash.
Yeah, it did take me a while to really figure out what was going on, and I was like, why is Wonder Woman bad? That's well,
so you come from the point of view almost of Flash, where you don't know what the hell's going on.
That's
and
true.
You're used to the lore of Aquaman being a good guy, Wonder Woman being a hero, and then those two are the ones causing all this destruction in this alternate universe that he wakes up in.
Right. I mean, the great thing is...
Or alternate timeline. It's not an alternate universe. It's an alternate timeline.
No, I would say universe. It's classified as a universe. I mean, timeline, universe, they're all kind of...
Johnny.
Well, I'm assuming it's a timeline because he fucked up the timeline. So,
right. Well,
fuck you guys.
This
podcast is over.
Nerd cred here. When you make a new timeline, you basically create a new universe in these guys' eyes.
So you guys can't see this because it's a podcast. Dennis's face like just lit up when he explained that. Like, no, I am correct, and this is why. But that does make sense.
He just nerd jizzed. Oh, I got a point.
Yeah, so it was weird because he runs down the stairs. I didn't realize he's trying to become the Flash. He sees his mom. He's all confused.
Yeah, because she had died when he was a little boy.
And I thought maybe the mom was evil, but no, she's not.
No. And then Cyborg is trying to get a group of metahumans or superhumans, as they're known in this book, together to go fight Aquaman and Wonder Woman because they're brawling in England or in London, have like destroyed half of London. Aquaman sunk Paris, part of France.
Yeah, part of France and good part of Europe, I think.
Yeah, we're underwater now. Like they had said something like 1 million something people had died.
Right,
and then it never really explained. At least I don't get why.
Well, okay, so that is how they usually run these what they call tentpole like events. So this is a big event at the time, and so they released I don't know how many comics exactly. There were about 3 issues each, but then each one focused on different characters and different arcs. So there was like a 3-issue Captain Cold arc. There was a 3-issue Superman arc, which Superman kind of doesn't exist, kind of does exist in this world.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. And then, so there was, I believe, either a 1-shot or a 3-issue of the Aquaman and Wonder Woman thing. And so what it turns out to be is that I think her name is Mira.
His wife.
Yeah, his wife tried to assassinate Wonder Woman, and so she ended up killing her. Oh. They were trying to actually make like some kind of peace agreement, and so that ended up becoming a feud between the surface dwellers and the.
And it's like implied that I almost called her Merman. Aquaman and Wonder Woman had an affair in the past, or like were a couple at one point.
Yeah, so I didn't read, unfortunately, that spin-off comic, but I did see the cartoon movie. And in that one, it's directly shown that they basically had a one-night stand, and then his wife found out, and she was like, and she came in there. And then and actually in the cartoon, it's even worse, because in the cartoon, after Wonder Woman slays
Mermana.
Yeah, she
Mermita.
She wears her crown, the whole time.
Oh.
Like it's like, look what I did.
Well, she's wearing her helmet in the comic book.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, because he
one of the
says
scenes,
he's like,
yeah.
what? Something about like why are you wearing your helmet if this isn't an issue or something? I don't know. Like basically, she was antagonizing him by wearing his dead wife's battle helmet. But anyway, so going back to the stairs, we're just going to concentrate on the stairs on this episode. I'm just kidding. Nobody's paying attention right now. Are they?
Yes, we are.
Can we just pause real quick?
Yeah.
I'm having like kid issues.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll pause it and come back. All right. I think we were talking about
Your mom.
Your mom.
We're talking about Flash's mom.
Yeah.
On the stairs.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, that actually worked.
No, we had covered mom on the stairs. We'll just jump in like this. Hey, sorry about that. We had to take a little break because Dennis.
We had a flashpoint moment. I had to go back in time and try to fix things. Unfortunately, butterfly effect. It didn't work out.
So now we're in an alternate timeline,
Right.
or universe, depending. on
Johnny's now mayor, at least.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm still pretty untalented.
Yes. and CEO of your business. So
Yes.
it's all good.
Which is
The universe.
you're
I'm CEO of the universe.
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
So where were we?
We had discussed that the Amazons and the
Oh, you're talking about Cyborg a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we were
Right.
just talking about
Atlanteans had been battling or whatever.
right.
The reason why Cyborg at this point is trying to get a group together, and Batman's there. Only he throws. How you're introduced to the Batman in this universe is he is cornered Harley Quinn. I'm assuming it's Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
It doesn't say her name, but I'm assuming it's Harley Quinn. She doesn't tell where this missing person is at, so he throws her off the building and is gonna kill her.
Batman does that?
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't read that
I did
part?
see that, yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah.
So the cyborg catches her before she hits the ground, and then Cyborg reveals that a lot of Batman's I don't want to say victims, but a lot of the people he has caught wind up slipping off of buildings, and so then he tries to get this group together to go fight Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and then Batman's kind of the linchpin on this, and he's like, "Nope, I'm out of here. I don't give a shit. Basically he wants the world to end."
But there's a reason why.
Yeah. So we'll just jump right into it. Turns out this is not Bruce Wayne. This is Thomas Wayne, Bruce's dad.
Right. And then in fact he had his own spin-off Flashpoint comic about 3 issues that explores that whole dynamic, including the fact that Martha Wayne, his wife, had become the Joker of this universe.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
She was so traumatized by the death of Bruce, like looking at his dead body, she started laughing and going crazy.
Oh, she snapped.
She
that was
snapped.
her
Yeah.
just one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
so
just one.
Oh, yeah.
Was that
So
the thing that he was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, just one bad day.
Yeah, just one back. God
And
damn
so, yeah.
fucking flies. Sorry, there's flies all over in this
So
garage.
in this alternate universe, there's a lot more flies. But,
Yeah.
I
I say timeline.
right. No. But yeah, she had become the Joker, so they had a big fight. It makes it a very interesting dynamic. Batman versus Joker is actually wife versus husband.
Which
I
is
see.
true in every universe. That is-
Which is
that's
true that the
dynamic.
wife is usually the
The
crazy
villain.
the crazy maniac.
Well, and it's also true the husband is the aloof man who won't open up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
see, there you go.
Yeah.
and always resorts to throwing someone off a
But
building.
yeah, so that is explain more, which is I'll sideline really quick, which is why I sort of don't like some of these big things like Civil War and this Flashpoint thing. I mean, it's cool, but they can only fit so much on the page, so they rely on spin-off comics
explain more.
Oh.
But then if you're just going in, this is the only thing I'm reading, it's like, okay, so it seems like this is a weird dark Batman that ends up being his dad, Thomas Wayne, instead. So, but you don't really get too much of his character.
Yeah. So Barry tracks him down,
But but that's why Batman wants the world to end, because he doesn't have his son.
He's grieving.
He's like, forget it.
Yeah, this world's not worth saving.
Yeah.
So then Barry Allen tracks down Batman, gets the shit kicked out of him, gets his arm broken or his hand broken by Batman, and then figures out like, oh, you're Thomas Wayne. Only in my world, the reality that I know, your son died. Basically, what we just spent 5 minutes explaining.
Well, his son lived in the world he knows.
Yeah, I'm sorry, your son lived. Yeah,
right.
and you died.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which Thomas Wayne was like, okay, I can help you then.
Right.
If my kid gets to live, then I'll help you.
Right. Exactly.
Or in this world, one of the two. He's like, either way, he wanted that world to end, either through saving Barry's timeline or just letting I keep forgetting her name, Wonder Woman and Aquaman to duke it out and just destroy everything.
Yeah. So Batman helps. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but Batman helps Barry become the Flash again.
Yes.
And I didn't realize. So how does he? Why is he not the Flash still? That's where I was confused at. So he gets hit by lightning.
He never became the Flash in this universe. So Barry never had the accident.
Yeah.
Because he created this new universe, suddenly now he doesn't have his powers.
Originally, how he got his powers was
sense.
he was in the crime lab at the police department, and he was working with chemicals. That's how this shit always happens. And lightning hit, and the lightning and the juice combined, chemical juice combined and formed the Flash.
So Batman helps him get hit by lightning, and it doesn't work, and he looks like a mummy, and then he makes him do it again.
No, Barry Allen makes Thomas Wayne do it again.
Yeah.
He almost died, basically.
Yeah.
And then he becomes the Flash, but he's really, really gross. But because he's the Flash, he heals super quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Accelerated healing.
Yeah.
So there's
and then he builds a costume
for Francis and the listeners who don't know more about the Flash. The Flash has all these. It's called the Flash Force. It's
Speed Force.
Or Speed Force, yeah. It's so stupid, but he can. He has all these other abilities that he can do. So he can vibrate so fast that he can go through things, and like he can change the structure of something because he can get down to like the molecules of it. That's what he was saying in the suit,
and that's why he's able if he taps into the Speed Force, which is like this key kind of thing, he can draw more power and even do more powerful things, but it's kind of draining and it's also dangerous. And so he always keeps his little shtick is that he keeps his outfit in his ring, but when it pops out, it turns out, guess what? It's the Reverse Flash's costume. So
which tells him that
Reverse Flash is somehow involved.
In this.
Oh, okay.
But
that part I didn't quite get.
And that's the yellow suit.
Yeah, and then he uses his magical Speed Force to basically somehow change the color of the outfit. So
he went and made one.
Did he make one?
Yeah, he was going to change it. That's what he was saying. Like, I can get down to the molecular structure of this thing and change it. But then he's like, it'll just be faster.
Strong enough, though, right? He did say that. Like,
no, he's like, it'd be faster just to go make one. You've got all the chemicals and
right.
Just coincidentally, this Batman had everything he needed to
because he needs a special outfit because otherwise all
clothes would just burn up. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Oh, see, they didn't make. I just thought he's like, I'm a superhero. I need a superhero outfit.
Superhero? He's got a speech impediment?
Yes. I'm a
in
superhero.
this new timeline or universe.
My name's the Flash.
Flash.
Sorry if you have a speech impediment.
Yeah. But that makes more sense, like why he needs one.
Yeah, he has to have, because he'll burn the thighs out on it.
So he basically, he's living between worlds. He has memories of his old universe and
the memories are fading slowly.
Right. And it kind of Back to the Future like kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's aware of certain superheroes that do not exist here, at least. When he mentions Superman, people are like, who? They've never heard of the Justice League or anything like that. So he has to go about trying to find some solution to fix the timeline.
Yeah. So then they get Cyborg involved. He has
he's like a national security officer, right? He works for Obama.
Or like he's like the only superhero. He's like taking Superman's place where he's like the government.
Right.
He's
the leader.
Yeah, and the government will turn to him for superhero.
And other metahumans trust him.
Yeah. So then they break into a compound, and turns out Superman is there. Oh, what happened was when the same time that Martha Wayne was pregnant with Bruce, Superman's rocket instead of hitting Smallville in a field in Smallville, it crashed into Metropolis.
Right.
And
then the
killed lots of people.
And then government covered it up, and then they found the baby and they raised him, which
they didn't raise him. They just contained him.
Well, so sideline, their 3-issue comic book that they had, they actually tried to make him into a weapon and brought him up and had him in a whole lab and everything like that. And so, yeah, see that once again, there's a lot of stuff you don't get. Like, well, why is he here? It looks like they just basically kept him prisoner.
Yeah, which without knowing the other stuff, kind of made sense.
Right.
It's because he's an alien. It's proof of an alien. And when this probably happened, there wasn't, John Jones, the Martian Manhunter wasn't probably known yet. And
I don't know, Francis, if you understood that they kept Red Sun, which is Superman gains his strength from our yellow sun, so that's why they put red lights on him, and that's why he looked emaciated.
See, that I didn't get. I figured out, like, okay, it's an alternate universe, and Superman is being held prisoner, and they're like, oh, he's so pale, he's so disgusting, and I took offense as a very pale person. But I didn't know the difference between the sun, so that makes sense when he finally, they help free him,
right,
and he goes out, like, into the real sun,
right,
that he he abandons everybody, basically. Superman abandons them.
Well, he's had very little human contact, especially if you're just sticking to this. Yeah. You have no idea if he's been in the isolation chamber for the entire
That's what
time.
I took.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
And they just fed him through a tray,
right.
Like a little slot in the door or something like that.
I think we have not discussed the most important character yet.
Who's that?
So there's like a group of kids, and they have like superpowers.
Shazam.
But not quite. Shazam, yeah. So within this group of kids, there is a tiger. And they're in this house, and people are like, oh, they let you have a tiger here. Like, they're like in some sort of foster care facility or something. And they're like, oh, no. Who put a spell on it? Someone put a spell on it, and it looks like a house cat to, like, other people. But it's really a tiger.
And Cyborg, his
his
mechanical eye can see the tiger, and his human eye sees the cat.
Right.
And I know every cat feels like they're a tiger.
But in reality, every cat's a piece of shit.
No.
And a jerk.
Yeah.
So I love that this guy, throughout this whole comic book, some kid's just walking around with the tiger on a leash.
Right,
Like, that's badass. He's
I don't
a
get
badass character.
I always, what little I know about Shazam, I thought it was Billy, what's his face?
It was. So I was confused by that too, and there might have been a spin-off comic, but I didn't read it. So background story. Originally, he was called Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. But obviously, hey, you don't want to mix it up with other Marvel properties. So later on, and people always called him Shazam because that was kind of what he said.
It's his cat. It's an acronym for
like
these gods,
right?
And all, like, Zeus is one of them. So he says that Billy, this human being, says Shazam, and all these gods endow him with power, and he's
the strength of Zeus, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's usually just one kid, Billy, and then he has also a family. He has like a sister. I think he has a cousin who was a cripple, but also gains powers. Anyway, there's a whole Shazam family.
They're in this.
Yeah, but in this one, instead of one person, it's like all those kids have to combine into one entity. So it was a different redoing of the origin. I didn't look in to see if there were side comics on that one.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure there must have been to explain everything.
Well, and that kind of made more sense to me, like why they need to gather an army, because I was like, why can't these few people just go fight Wonder Woman and Aquaman themselves? Because, like, superhero versus superhero. But I'm like, well, if you got a bunch of kids who are only like half powerful or something, like maybe you need to like really combine the powers.
Well, especially, I mean, Wonder Woman and Aquaman have a huge army with technology behind them, or just fantastical creatures, and in their own right, they're very powerful. So some of these other superheroes going one-to-one to duke it out with Wonder Woman or Aquaman may not be a match, plus the armies that they have behind them. So that's kind of...
makes sense, okay.
Yeah.
But so sidetrack here. So at one point, I think it was around this time, It just instantly, I was like, come on. It took me out of the comic book, and Cyborg says something about, yeah, and then maybe my dad will be proud of me. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Come on. How old are you?
Yeah. Right.
You're an adult. Like,
you're like a national security leader. Quit, trying to live up to daddy's expectations.
I don't even know what that reference is. Like, I don't know if his dad's a dick or.
Well, it's probably more of, hey, guess what, guys? This universe or this world or this timeline is different. Wink, wink. Where his dad's normally proud of him. Guess what? He's not proud in this one. It's kind of like, let's show how everything is different. Like, it was kind of like that line when Batman was talking about Dent's twins. So Harvey Dent hadn't become Two-Face in this world. So
he's a judge, too.
He's a judge. So they drop stuff like that to go, this is how really different the world is. And I'm sure there might have been a spinoff for Cyborg, too. I mean, he's the de facto leader. So.
Is in the regular comic series, is his dad like a big part of the Cyborg lore?
Well, he's actually the one who put him together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he was a scientist at Star Labs, and he actually was the one. His son had been very mortally wounded in an explosion, and so he had this experimental technology, and put him together.
So he's Darth Vader.
He's still good.
Okay.
And he will soon be it's interesting because Cyborg's a character I always associated with the Teen Titans from the 80s, and it wasn't until recently that they started elevating him up to the big leagues, and basically he's no longer part of the Teen Titans, he's part of the Justice League proper. And he's going to be in the new movie too, the Justice League.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. He's briefly in the Batman versus Superman fiasco.
Right.
Oh, that's right, because his dad's working on him. I forgot about that.
Using a mother box from the World Apocalypse. But anyway, we're getting
so
getting way too deep in the nerd.
So they have we've been way deep in the nerd from the very beginning.
Balls deep.
Yeah, so they're like, they go to war, like they start fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Batman finally is like, okay, I'll be part of your group, Cyborg, so that this world ends basically through Barry fixing the timeline.
Which he doesn't actually reveal to anyone else but Batman. I think.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like everyone's like, who the hell's this guy?
He's just a new speedster.
Yeah.
Which kind of hints that there must have been another speedster, which is what they call the people who run fast.
Oh. Is that the bad Barry, the other Flash?
Oh, the Reverse Flash?
Yeah.
They don't know of him, but there's probably...
Because Barry's not the only Flash. There was a Flash from...
the Golden Age.
Yeah, who wore like a...
Mercury helmet.
Yeah, with the little wings, and he wore...
See, that I remembered. I was like, this is interesting.
That's technically the original Flash, and Barry is, I think, the second incarnation. And then there was...
Wally West.
Yeah, he died, and then Kid Flash became the main Flash, and there's a lot of Flashes.
Okay. So, in this one, they go to... So, yeah, Batman agrees to go to battle, and they show up...
They fly over to Britain.
Right.
That's it.
So they start fighting, and then the Reverse Flash comes.
Yeah, which didn't make sense to me, like why he just showed up out of the blue all of a sudden.
But through that, he's like, "Don't you remember, Barry?" So what happened was, the world is like this now because,
well, Flash, Barry Allen had assumed Reverse Flash had.
Were we talking about the final arc?
So Barry had assumed that Reverse Flash had gone back in time and caused this issue, but then Reverse Flash reveals that, no, you did this, Barry, by going back and saving your mom. You created all this problem, all these problems because of your selfishness. Like, he tells him that, and then I just lost my train of thought.
Well, they have we're at the part where they're in Europe now, right? So
well, yeah. So then that's when Reverse Flash tells him, like, oh, guess what? Now I'm outside of any repercussions from me messing with the timeline because you've fucked with it so badly. Now I'm free to do whatever I want. I'm an anomaly. I'm a free player. And
right, it doesn't matter if Barry dies or if the timeline changes again.
So while he's running his mouth, Thomas Wayne takes. I don't know how he got Wonder Woman's sword. She dropped it, I guess, during a fight.
I think right before that, Superman comes in and busts
That's
up
what
the
it was,
fight
yeah.
between Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and so she drops her sword.
Oh, okay. So then Thomas Wayne picks it up and stabs him through the chest from behind,
right,
and solves that issue.
Right, exactly.
As ultra-violent Batman is wont to do.
Right, and then during this whole time, other heroes and villains are dying left and right. Turns out Enchantress, who was on their team, reveals herself to be a wild card and traitor, and basically takes Shazam out of play.
Yeah,
and
kills Billy.
And makes them the separate kids, and then Wonder Woman ends up killing Billy himself.
What's Billy
Billy Madison?
Billy Madison.
I want to say that too. I don't remember what his
That'd
name was.
be a great crossover. That'd be a great sequel to Billy Madison if it turned out like in the sequel he's all of a sudden Shazam.
You earn no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
So then the Flash goes back through the timeline, explains to his mom,
Well, so Aquaman sets off his doomsday weapon that he had
that's
created,
what it was, yeah.
and everything's blowing up.
Well, and we forgot this is okay. So at the beginning of this, I had said this before we started recording that this comic book, I thought it was made in the 90s because that guy with the red mask,
Grifter. Okay, so this is I can see why you're saying that, and it's very confusing.
Isn't that part of Wildcats?
So Wildstorm.
So
here's the weird thing: the weird guy with the mask and the machine gun
and the demon dude.
Yeah, so they're all they had their own side comic. So there are all these resistant fighters against Wonder Woman and Aquaman. And Grifter specifically was from Wildstorm, which was a different comic book company, but DC had bought them out. So this was kind of his intro into the DC universe. It was like, hey, guess what?
So is he like the equivalent of the Punisher?
Kind of. He's like that. And and he ends up getting killed by Enchantress too. Like I think his legs are melted off, and he dies.
I didn't catch that.
Well, there's a quick scene where like people are just dying.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and Thomas Wayne is mortally wounded.
Right.
And so things are kind of winding down. The Flash knows he's got to go back in time and stop himself, his self that before he can go back in time to save his mom.
Right.
And Thomas hands him a letter and said, please give this to Bruce. And then that's when the Flash takes off, which I still, it's one of those things I'm like, so where did he run to?
Well, so didn't he go talk to his mom, explain to his mom, like, the world is going to end, and I wish there was a way that I could save you both. Like, and she's like, no, Barry. She's like,
the world's more important.
Yeah, and she even said something really beautiful. I just don't remember what it was.
I just remember she was actually horrified. Like, how many millions of people, how many people died as a result of you just wanting to save me?
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, it just, things have changed so much. I mean, the world is on the verge of extinction.
So she says to him, sorry, you have to let me go, Barry. He says, I don't want to. She said, neither do I, but I'll be with your father. I'll be okay. And then he starts, he's like running through the timeline, and there's like the other Flash is like there, like it's him, I think, in another timeline.
Right, the one that saves her. So it becomes very confusing. The Flash stuff like that.
On the cosmic treadmill.
Yeah.
Right.
So he captures him, and it goes, Crum! And then...
Right, and then so...
That's what it says. Like, I'm reading from the book.
And then it becomes this basically geek fest where you start seeing little bits of different timelines and different universes. So they show part of the old classical DC universe that most people know.
Yeah.
That's gone because of the Infinite Crisis, right?
Well, no, that was after the Infinite Crisis. But then there's other side stuff that, the Wildstorm, they show them. And then he starts transforming. This is the new 52 with a new Batman costume, a new Superman costume, which, a lot of people met with mixed reviews, and because it changed the relationships on how people dealt with each other and origin stories, etc. And so, this was basically their way of going, we're wiping the slate clean. We're starting. They did a whole bunch of issue ones.
So even though he sacrificed his mom,
right,
it still created a whole new timeline.
Well, I guess the theory is that once you change it a little bit. So you can go back and try to change it back to the way it was, but it's still going to be subtly different because you still went back and interfered with things.
Yes. So then it shows Barry waking back up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
He's still the Flash. He saved the world. Shocking. All right. He saved it.
And he's the only one who remembers that he did.
Yeah, nobody else. And then he goes to see Batman, the Bruce Batman.
Bruce Wayne Batman.
Yes. And he hands him the note.
Right.
From Thomas
That
Wayne to
sounded
Bruce.
very anticlimactic. I'm sorry. my synopsis
Well,
here is
okay.
just... But it's very fast.
Part of me was like, oh, that's nice. But part of me was like, God, that is so freaking hokey. Especially
Yeah.
when Bruce is like
Yeah.
crying there.
It was.
Yeah.
I think it would have been more poignant if, and this is almost, I parallel this with the end of the Dark Knight Rises movie,
Right.
where it would have been more poignant if you just see Batman from behind, like take his mask off, be Bruce, processing this, and Flash like starts to like just like leave him alone because he's like shuddering.
Right.
That would have been more poignant and powerful than seeing tears
Native
come
American. You're throwing trash on the ground.
It was just so. And then that was the other part. I was like, this is so fucking hokey.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the thing with the Dark. We're getting way off topic here. With the Dark Knight Rises, when at the very end of it, when you see Alfred in the cafe or what, the outside,
right,
out on the patio, and he looks up and he realizes like, oh, there's Bruce. Bruce is still alive. And then it cuts to Bruce like a top of like
Right.
a little nod and a wink, and it's like it would have been way more powerful if they had just seen Alfred, like you see his face light up,
right,
and then you would have been like, oh shit, did he see Bruce?
Right.
That still would have implied like, well, maybe he didn't, maybe.
Well, it's funny because who was that director again?
Nolan.
When he did the other film with the coin, what was that?
Yeah.
Well, that was he should have done that kind of ending, right?
Yeah.
Where the coin never stops, but
It
you're not
wobbles.
sure. Wobbles, but it doesn't stop. So you're left like, oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it reality? Is it not? And that would have been better. I agree.
Like if you had just seen Alfred's reaction to
Right.
possibly seeing Bruce,
Right.
and it still would have left Bruce as a figment of the legend of Batman.
And in the way you set up the scene, you could feel that aura from the illustration.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been so like, I miss my daddy.
Yeah,
tier.
and it would have been more. The pain of it would have been more real because
Right.
Bruce was still dealing with this alone as an individual.
Right.
Like he's still alone, even though he has,
This message from time.
Well, and he's built a family, of superheroes.
Right.
But he's still alone. It still hurts.
Right.
Like I don't know. It was
He's
just done
still
so.
a man-child.
Yeah. Well, it really is.
So what I thought was... Okay, so let me just... I'm jumping way ahead, sorry.
No, that's all right.
No, we've wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Like let's get into our opinions.
So
Like,
what I noticed... Okay, first of all, this book took me 3 days to read. It never takes me that long to read these books. I do them...
It's very dense.
It's a graphic novel. Yeah. But so what I noticed is there's like a chapter break where it's like this weird drawing, kind of like a climactic where it's leaving off. And then it looked like when I was reading the back that there was different artists for each section. I don't know if I got that
That's
correct.
typical for when these are published as like a weekly or a monthly. They'll have what they call variant covers. So they'll have the cover, and then usually there's some sort of art in there also.
Okay.
That's like this, like the cover image, and then there's like another one in there, and that's what they were showing. But basically, what you were doing was seeing that run for that month.
Okay. So overall, the story was hard for me to get into at first, but I could get into it, but some of the art, like during the fight scene, I couldn't tell what was happening at all. It was just, and I felt like it was really rushed.
Hated the fucking art in this thing.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. I feel
hated
better.
it.
I sort of liked it, but at the same time, I agree with the chaos, especially when I look at through the perspective of someone who has no idea what's going on. You don't know who's losing, who's winning.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like almost, I think they assumed, hey, you want to find out what happened to Superman? Buy the special Flashpoint Superman issues.
Yeah.
And so they assumed a lot that you just didn't get, and it became chaotic. Like, well, who's this person fighting for? Like, I didn't understand that Enchantress was what side she was on.
Yeah.
I was
And she
like,
flips,
what?
she
All right.
flips with one page of dialogue. Well, one
Yeah.
balloon of dialogue, and it's saying like, well, I don't understand her her reasoning, like
her motivations or anything
like that. And then so it just became and then the grifter guy, he's like, hey, we're here to rescue. There's this big splash page. Hey, we're here to die.
Yeah,
Next
that's
page,
basically what it
and he
was.
dies like in like one other page. So it's
or the molecule woman, or what's her name?
elemental
woman. Like her, like that. I was like, why is she even in this fucking book? She
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
really do anything.
Well, they almost make it like she's this big deal and
Yeah.
she's following Cyborg, and it's like, well, she never really comes to fruition.
Yeah, there was no. She was unnecessary to the storyline. Like she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of people were like that. Like I wasn't really vested in anybody.
I was not invested in with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Like you spend no time with them, so you're like it. They didn't even need to really go there to fight anybody.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it was
I
the
think
fight was not necessary even for them to be there.
Oh, something. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I just felt for being only 5 issues this run, they crammed so much in. And I understand that they had these side comics, but you always have to assume that no one's going to read that. And so if your story doesn't make sense in the context of the main issues, then I think it's a big disservice. And the whole Aquaman and Wonder Woman thing, I still don't understand, because I don't know where Amazonians live exactly. Like, where is that relative to Europe?
Yeah.
Is that near Italy, Greece kind of thing? So maybe that's why they were trying to sink it.
Yeah, and something we forgot to talk about in the story. When the Flash saves the world, he's able to retain all of his memories of the alternate universe. So he still has memories of his mother, and
but
the birthday
lived
cake.
memories.
Right.
But I kind of felt like, so I actually, surprisingly enough, I did find myself vested in the story towards the end. And I was glad. Like, there's no doubt he's going to save the world to me, but I did find myself invested in the Flash, and I knew nothing about the Flash, so it did make me curious about it. I'm like, oh, who's the Flash? But it's kind of like, you know what? It sounds so terrible. Okay, people die, get over it. Like, it's like, oh, like so Bruce is crying over his dad still. The Flash is crying over his mom still. And as a young, I never lost a parent when I was little. I mean, I'm from a single parent, but I'm just kind of like, can these grown men get over things?
Yeah.
You know what? You really bring up a good point, because Superman's still like, oh, my home planet Krypton. I was like, fuck, dude.
Like,
you were never there.
Move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had parents who loved you and brought you up. Get over it, instead of going to your fortress of solitude and trying to recreate Krypton.
Well, and you never had any. He never had any memory of being there. So I mean, I could see like an adopted kid wanting to know, like, I'm adopted. You know, great. Like, so where did I come from? And having that sort of
curiosity, knowledge.
Yeah, the curiosity of like, I want to know where I'm from, but not. I don't know about being mopey about it,
right.
you know, and then like with Bruce and Barry, what propelled them to be, you know, kind of their superhero persona. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, at a certain point, you got to grow up.
Right. So I am not bragging, but I'm from San Bernardino. I was born and raised in Highland. That is a shit show now. Excuse my language. I don't cry about it every day.
Great. We have most of our listeners are from
Highland, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like,
Thanks.
Our
San
listenership
Bernardino.
just dropped off right there. I can see it. I'm watching it.
Send your complaint letters to Frances.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, things change. It's part of life. You lose. That's part of life. You gain. And I'm just like, I think even just for that, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm going with that. Sorry.
No, like I said, I think you bring up an amazing point that I never thought about. It's like all these kids, all these superheroes have these issues, which any Disney figure deals with, but they don't try to go back in time and start moping about it. You know?
Well, you know, like my ex-girlfriend, her mom died when she was pretty young. I think she was 5 or 6 when her mom died, maybe even a little younger than that. And like her youngest brother has no memory. I don't believe he has any, because he was an infant, toddler, when she passed. And you know, there was still a lot of like, there was a lot of pain in her heart from that. I could, to this day, that, you know, she misses her mom, and there's a lot of things, you know, she wishes her mom could see and do. But like, if her, this is a horror, I don't know how to word this parallel, but had her mom been taken tragically, you know, like through a bad guy in an alley killing her mom, and she had the means I don't think she would be driven to vengeance, and donning a cowl. And I don't know. I think at a certain point you would, like, my past, like, I heavily drank when in my 20s and like blackout drunk all the time because I had like a bad time growing up. And but I got to a certain point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is hurting me. It's not. I'm creating problems now. I need to grow up. I can either stay in this bad time that I'm making for myself, or I can grow up and forgive the past and let go of that and try to find something new and be a better person for myself. And like, it's a shame that, like, there's no closure for these characters. That's why I was going to say, after reading this, it reaffirmed my great dislike for superhero comic books that just keep fucking churning the story out over and over and over.
That's just, I think I could see somebody, I should backtrack. I should try to save some grace here. I could see somebody, if you lost somebody and you have that anger and that pain, I could see you going into that place. I don't see you staying there and living there and creating all this more chaos and depression for yourself.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to man up, woman up, get out of it.
And the truth is, I mean, that's probably the biggest fallacy of especially Batman. It's like you've moved on, you've run a successful company, you have this other family.
He's even had a kid at this point,
right?
And
it's
and
like,
what? He has a kid?
Yeah, Damon
Wayans.
Wayans.
And who
I said Damon Wayans.
I was like,
who later formed Living Color.
Yeah.
But
Damian
Wayans.
Yeah.
Wayne.
Damian
Now you're
Wayne.
making me do it. But I mean, but that the death of his parents is just so like, geez, get a shrink and deal with that grief. And
it's just, I mean, at a certain point, like, if you're doing something cathartically, once you process all that out through whatever it is,
right?
In Batman's case, beating the shit out of bad guys, eventually you're gonna process that out of yourself, and you're gonna be like this kind of empty vessel, and you're gonna be like, okay. And Batman being highly intelligent, you would think he'd have a moment of like clarity and go, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can be an adult human being now. I can grow up. I can move into some other venture that gives me greater happiness and closure on the pain of my youth. Like,
and now that I think about it, this is a problem with time travel stories in general, but if Barry did that for his mom, it's like, well, why don't you just see whatever big bad guy it is, apocalypse, or even a robbery, and just go back in time before it happens? Why don't you just go back in time every time it happens?
Yeah.
And that's the selfishness really, it's the selfishness of the character to do what he did.
Right.
But I, in my opinion on this book, I fucking hated it. I do not like mainstream comics for so many reasons. Like we were saying, like, they just keep churning this shit out, and there's no growth or closure for the characters.
Well, that's unfortunately the problem with these kind of comics, right? It's that Batman has to keep going on, so you can't have an old Batman or anything unless you do an alternate universe one, like the Dark Knight, or you do this kind of story where Bruce is dead. That's why they have so many. I like these comics in the sense that I like alternative universes where they can play around with the main characters, kill people off, make them bad, make them good, because they're stunted. I mean, you have Batman always being whatever he is, 35 forever, yet somehow he has a baby, and now that baby's a teen.
Yeah.
And he never ages. And so you get this weird thing where Nightwing is now a 20-year-old.
Or Nightwing's the same age as Batman.
Right. How does that happen?
Yeah.
But it's kind of the problem with these kind of things is they're eternal. And that's why you run into problems with like the movies. Like at a certain point, the actors actually age, unlike drawings.
Yeah.
So you have to like age out Tony Stark or reboot it or recast it. But yeah, the problem with these is they never feel like they progress, right?
Yeah.
They're always when we talked about one time the Killing Joke, it's like, well, how many times does Batman have to fight the Joker before you realize maybe I really should kill this guy?
Yeah.
you know?
And then my other big critique about this is the art is it's just so fucking rushed, and I hate shit drawn on computers. I think that's why I like indie comics. You can tell they're hand drawn. Like you can see the care that was put into Ghost World. It's very unique. It's different. It encompasses like the characters, like the lumpiness of those like ugly weird characters.
Right.
And like with this stuff, I can just tell it's drawn on a computer. It's not it's drawn by hand, but everything's colored in a computer. It's drawn in a computer. It's real rushed. There was a part where Barry's like at a 3/4 profile, and instead of drawing it so that you see like the edge of the mask should be hidden by the side of his face. This is me as an illustrator. Like you have to observe the human body if you're going to draw the human body.
Absolutely.
So you know how things are going to look prospectively. And they just like drew the edge of the mask where around the eye just to a point, and it like almost went off the edge past the mask. And it's like, dude, come on. Like just that kind of just like, and I get that they're trying to do these monthly or weekly or whatever, so they just got to burn through these fucking things. But I just there's like no soul in these comics. There's
definitely no character.
Yeah.
And then
there's nothing unique about it. I don't know. I'm just not.
They've improved a lot from the 90s. I've recently, because I got Marvel Unlimited, which is like the subscription thing, so you could read a whole bunch of old comics. So I've been looking through some of the ones I liked in the 80s, some stuff I'd never read in the 60s, and I skipped the 90s. Like 90s, I was in college and high school, and I was kind of done with it beyond the early 90s stuff.
You finally had seen a girl naked.
Yeah, basically. And the 90s stuff is just god awful. It's like everything's muscle, but it's a slight improvement. But I totally get what you're saying in terms of like the stuff just being too, I don't know.
It's just churned out.
Yeah.
Everything did feel kind of rushed to me too,
Yeah.
which is weird. It took me 3 days to read it, but everything felt rushed. Yeah, like all the art and
and
color.
I'm sure if I bothered looking at the history of the comic, I mean, a lot of these guys, especially these tentpole events, they are rushed because the other comics are being held up by this. They can't release Batman #1, Superman #1, all the reboots until this gets done. And it's rare that they actually allow that to happen. I think
that's so weird that this is the major turning point in a whole new universe. You would think they would take the care and the time to be like, okay, we're saying goodbye to all this different story and timeline and universe. Let's honor those old characters and say goodbye in a proper manner, and then welcome the new universe and show the respect to this whole new art form, this whole new thing that we're creating.
But that's kind of how they operate DC.
You can see it in the movies, like
and then the Infinite Crisis that you're aware of, and then Francis is probably not aware of, is where they basically have the different universes come together. So you get like 5 different Supermans duking it out for whatever reason.
That was back in the 80s, right?
They had several of them. They had Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, Crisis. Anytime you hear Crisis, it's usually we're going to reboot things. This is like one of the few times they didn't. And in fact, they just rebooted again. They have DC Rebirth. So they're rebooting the universe. And much to people's chagrin, they think the reason for this new reboot is Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, which is the Watchmen have always been a separate universe, but supposedly the Watchmen are involved with this reboot. God. So they're rebooting it again. So it's kind of timely we're talking about this one because they're rebooting again with the Rebirth comics, and also this is
and Alan Moore, he did The Killing Joke,
right?
And then the Watchmen announced today that he's retiring from comics.
No way.
From writing comics.
Oh wow.
He's going to wrap up the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And he's got one. He said he's like, I basically have 250 pages in me, and it must be for the 3 or 4 different comic books he's going to be closing out.
Right.
But what do you think, Francis?
Yeah, wrap up.
Wrap them shits up.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was kind of confusing at first. It's something different than the genre that I normally follow. So for that, it was interesting. I will say this, because I agree with everything you guys have said. Like, I didn't really like the art. The story, I'm just like, all these men need to grow up. It's the same story over and over, but it did make me want to know more about the Flash.
Oh.
Yeah, it really did. I was like, who, like, for some reason, out of all the superheroes, because I don't know anything about him, I was like, I kind of want to learn a little bit more about him. And then when I first read it, I was like, how the hell did Wonder Woman become bad? So that was kind of interesting too. But yeah, I mean, I could take it or leave it. Yeah, I didn't hate it. It's time out of my life. I'm never gonna get back.
Yeah. I have to say, I both loved it and really hated it.
Because
I've said several times I'm a big fan of alternate universes and stuff like this where they introduce like a different take on the Batman. I actually collected the Batman miniseries that spun off this because I like seeing like different takes on things, because you're right, the very reason that we never see any progress or growth, so it's exciting to see
some progress and growth.
Yeah, or something different. You know, it's not just Bruce Wayne. Now it's Thomas Wayne. And in fact, in the comic book, I forget if they address it here, he runs like a whole bunch of casinos.
Yeah, he's swinging around and you can see all the
yeah.
It's basically he's got like Vegas and Gotham.
Right. So he's not exactly altruistic. He's like making money through gambling and everything. So he's contributing,
which probably invites a ton of social problems into.
Right. Exactly. So he's part of the reason why Gotham's such a shithole.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like that aspect. I like time travel stuff, even though it's messed up. I love the Reverse Flash. He's one of my favorite villains. But overall, the story's a mess. They had all these spin-off comics, but honestly, if you're just going to focus on the main one, it's hard to follow anyone's motivation.
Yeah.
If you're new to the DC universe or slightly just aware of classical lore, it's very confusing. If you're more aware like me, it's still confusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I'm interested. I don't watch the Flash TV show. I know you do, Johnny.
The only reason I do is to participate in Cody Flash Mob.
But at least you understand the story. So I don't know how they're going to implement some of this stuff, because obviously some of these heroes are off limits. I guess not Superman anymore.
They've already done so many universe resets in that. Oh, you just had a Belloc moment. The fly went in your mouth.
Thanks, alternate universe Johnny, for bringing all these flies.
Sorry, it's my my metahuman power. But they've already reset that universe so many times in just the 2 seasons that show's been on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what did you think?
I did not like it at all, from beginning to end. The only thing that was like a little touching to me was the moment that he shared with his mom when he got some closure. In fact, the last part of it, I was flipping through. I like to see in these when they do these volume releases, like the drawings at the back to show, oh, this is the character design we were kind of thinking, or that stuff. So it's flipping through, and they usually show the different variant covers in the back. And there's one of Cyborg running, and they must be trying to pay homage to Superman, but he's like taking a shirt off and a tie.
Oh, right. That's totally a Superman move.
But it's so fucking stupid because he's got a metal arm, a metal fucking plate on his head, a glowing red eye, and it's like, that's so fucking stupid. You're not gonna. If I saw someone walking down the street, I'd be like, oh, that's Cyborg.
Also, though, in his defense, if you just took your glasses off, Johnny, I wouldn't go, oh my God, it's Superman.
Yeah.
And then when you put your glasses on, oh, that's just Johnny.
Oh, it's so stupid.
Overall, the cherry on top that ruined it for me was the tear of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, okay, this is cool. To send a message, from time through space to your dead, your alive son.
That was cool.
But then to show the tear, I was like, fucking Bruce Wayne would not do that.
Well, even if he, and that's why I was saying, like, if, like, the Flash would be so uncomfortable seeing that, I think he would be like this guy is a brutal fucking ass kicker. Like,
right.
I'm just gonna let this guy have his moment, and he's almost antisocial a lot of times. Like, he's like the modern, probably like past 2 or 3 decades of Batman. He's so antisocial. I don't think he would allow himself to be seen doing that, because
opening in front of Barry and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like he would just, I don't know, and I think he would. It just would have been a lot more powerful. You would just see Batman, and that's a lot of times what you see men do when they is go off and cry by themselves. You know, like you don't.
Not only that, this is fucking Batman.
Yeah.
This is the man who can't feel emotions when, you know,
It's
Commissioner
out of character
Gordon.
too. It's just out of character.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
even that
it's
it's
out
so
of-
poorly done.
It's just out of character for the. Oh well, I'm done talking about
Yeah.
this comic book.
Hey, thanks for listening. Especially you're in Highland or San Bernardino. We really love and support you. You can follow me, the pretty and talented Frances, at I'm so arrogant today.
Yeah, what happened?
At Wards and Waffles on Instagram. Dennis, where can they find us and you?
They can find me on Twitter at GN Explorers Club, and also soon to be GNExplorersClub.com. And also you can email us any questions, comments. Maybe you hate The Flash. Maybe you love this and think Johnny's wrong by calling it an alternate timeline rather than an alternate universe. Then you can email those at GNExplorersClub@gmail.com.
And let us know what you think on Twitter too.
Yes.
Are we on iTunes?
Yeah, it's on all that shit.
Where can people find you, Johnny?
At
the bar?
Serious Talk to It. Yeah, I am a little hungover. I went out last night. I don't go out anymore. And
Explains the flies.
yeah, I'm sure they're following me because I smell like shit. And cigarettes. I was hanging out with them. That's why my voice is so.
Oh, I'm
raw.
not used to that.
I was hanging out with a bunch of smokers, and they all.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
the only non-smoker, so everyone was outside. I'm like, great. What am I gonna do? Hang out inside by myself while you guys smoke out there for 10 minutes? I was like, fuck. So I try and you do that thing where you try and maneuver away from the smoke, but yet it somehow always comes to the non-smoker.
You should do the whole thing they do in China and just wear the mask and look weirdly awkward and uncomfortable.
But yeah, Serious Talk to It from my other podcast.
A great
it.
one, by the way.
Oh, well, thanks. I wasn't fishing for that, but thank you.
I didn't say anything.
I know. I know your opinion.
We
No,
all
actually,
know.
yeah.
You
I
all
actually like it.
You all wish that No Nipples on the Suit was still going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing.
Tune in for the next episode.
Tune in,
TBD.
viewers or listeners.
Oh yeah, dial in.
I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
call in our call-in show.
Yeah. Folks, we will return in June to cover the entire series of Preacher. We're going to dedicate 4 episodes to the entire series, so we'll be covering about 3 books per episode. So really looking forward to that. Hope you'll come back and join us. Enjoy your month of being free of the 3 of us. All right? See you in June. 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 All right? See you in June.